tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, America. Tujikaze, jikaze. You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Okelo, live from...
Thank you for joining us for today's special session of the Daily African Proverbs. Today we are not discussing an African proverb, but we are truly privileged to be hosting the wonderful Zizi el Ghatit. Zizi is an amazing human being. We connected on Clubhouse originally, and I had no idea that Zizi was an author. And I didn't even know that Zizi was 85 years old, And over the last few weeks, I've become fond of Zizi because every single day in the Daily African Proverbs, which is a show that we host here on Clubhouse, and we also broadcast it on YouTube. Over the last 1 week, we've been broadcasting the Daily African Proverbs on YouTube, and Zizi has been such an amazing support. So today we are hosting a session that was originally supposed to be in the on Friday. These African wisdom sessions, we host them on Friday with Chiyumba Osome, who was unable to be here with us today. But we wanted to really just create this time so that instead of dissecting a proverb as we usually do, we could go deeper into the story of Zizi. And Zizi says that wear gratitude like a clock and it will feed every corner of your life. This is a quote by Rumi. And Zizi is also the author of an amazing book that I'm actually holding in my hands right now. It's the Rhapsody of Love. So a lot of our conversation today is going to be around the Rhapsody of Love, a spiritual journey from Rumi to oneness with all. So I would love to just start with the story of Zizi. I want for us to learn about how the little Zizi, when Zizi was about 8 to 12 years old, what were you doing? Where were you? And how has that influenced who you are right now at 85 years old? Still impacting young people like me, even though you are wheelchair bound, you're still much more engaged than many people who are my age. So Zizi, share with us a little childhood story of yours when you are around 8 to 12.
Well, Simon, thank you for inviting me to this wonderful session with you. I'm very grateful to have someone like you, whom I consider the saint of this century, and you do so much goodness to the world, and especially to our Africa. So I'm very grateful for that, and I'm grateful for your club. I have to begin a little earlier than 8 so that it makes sense, because when I was 1 year old, after being precocious...
Hi Zizi, I have a question. Do you have a cell phone that has the YouTube live nearby, or it's Clubhouse? We can
what
hear
I
it.
have on the phone is I open the Clubhouse.
Okay, then...
Is my voice not carrying? Or?
I can hear it in the background, so I wonder if you could reduce the volume all the way down. Thank you so much.
Do you hear it now? Okay. Shall we forget about that?
Yeah, I still hear it, so let's just turn it off completely. Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay. Can you say something now?
Yes. So would you like me to start?
It's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, please start.
What I wanted to say is that at 1 year old, I was very precocious. I was talking, dancing, doing everything a 1 year old would do. Plus, So my parents went on a honeymoon, belated honeymoon to Europe, and they left me with my grandparents. So I had polio. I was totally paralyzed. So that age of 8 years was a very difficult age because I had had a lot of intensive therapy and I was wearing heavy braces from my foot to my thigh. And the people there thought, well, maybe she would be ready to go to school. So when we applied to all the different schools around, nobody really accepted because they felt, oh, she's a financial liability if she falls. And then her father is a lawyer. We could be really in trouble. So nobody accepted me. And finally, that day, Dr. Martin, who's the head of the American College for Girls, decided that she would accept me. And it was a wonderful time there. And then started more of what has changed me and made me who I am now. Because this lady had so much information about polio and she was a missionary, so her and her teacher served with love. And one day when I was in high school, uh, we were visited by Dr. Helen Keller, and she made sure that I have an interview with her. So she introduced me to Helen Keller, and we had a good talk. And when I saw her, I couldn't believe all these, disabilities that she was taking care of and doing what she was doing, touring the world, writing, influencing and inspiring people. And then she told me, the trouble with people is they always look at the closed door. And while looking at the closed door, they miss all the open doors before them. I don't want you to do that. I want you, whenever you find the closed door, punch a door open or look at the other doors, but certainly not look at the closed door and give up. And she told me, I know you will be one of the people that will inspire others like I am inspiring you now. And I think she was right because that's what I did. I decided I'll give up all this nonsense about having a disability, which resulted from people who were always teasing me, telling me a cripple, and making fun of me. I decided to put all of this aside and just go on with my life and try to prove them wrong. So anytime somebody told me, "Oh, you won't be able to do that," I just proved them wrong, and I went on with that. So this is the story, and every time I did anything that I felt I was just a risk taker. I would try anything until now. I would do anything, and it doesn't matter what age I am. I feel young at heart. I really do. I feel I'm operating like a 25-year-old, even less sometimes. So, so this is it. Would you like to ask me another question?
No, it's just so perfect that I finally see you, and now I can add, a face to your beautiful and powerful voice, and
A very weak voice, it gets tired so quickly.
oh yeah,
You see those designs I put on my hand?
I see you're very beautiful. Tell me about them. Tell me about them.
Uh, Yesterday, a friend of mine came by and she said, I have a friend and we want to give you a gift. We want to have this henna, just on your hands. And I thought, oh my God, that is so beautiful, why not? And the funny thing is that my nephew, who's 18 years old, came to visit me from Toronto. And he had a beautiful, and that's what you see on my picture, a beautiful um, tattoo, but a real tattoo of a lion and the friendship badge. So I just couldn't believe how the two of us, 18 and 85, decided to have tattoos. So we took pictures together, and I sent it to his father, and I was hoping that he would be. And he turned out to be quite cool, actually. He really liked it. It's my other son who's a doctor who was a little bit, taken with his mother at 85. See, they don't see that part of me that they're always so rigid and, professional doctor and lawyer and taking life too seriously. So,
Yeah, I saw your picture on Instagram as well, and
yeah,
yeah, whose hand had the lion on it? Was it yours
that's
or?
my nephew. No,
Uh-huh.
he had the design of the flowers that you see.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Nice. Nice.
yeah. No, this was my nephew, 18 years old. So we
Mm.
decided we'll combine and have the pictures together.
Mm.
Youth and youth, not old.
Zizi, so share with me a little bit about now your work as a clinical psychologist, um, and your story of immigrating to North America. How did you end up here, and really also just your work before we get to your book and the excerpts. I just want you to share with us, if you are to share with
Sure,
that
sure.
18-year-old that you're with, the one that you did this cool tattoo
Yeah,
with, if you're to share with them the most impactful work you did, besides the book, especially around clinical psychology. Share with us
yeah.
what you feel that was most
Well,
impactful when you did that work.
I studied at Ohio State as a clinical psychologist in the States. And I came back. Everybody thought, oh, my advisor actually said, you'd better go back because you won't find an Egyptian who will marry someone who has a high degree. And so I ended up working in the Ministry of the Scientific Research, and my husband was then the head of the public relations. And I was very casual with him, and because I saw he has a daughter, so I figured, well, he's married. There's no point in. I could be free and not feel any intimidation. Anyway, we fell in love. We got married, and then I had opened a private practice. So he made the thing about saying, I want to take. He was a journalist and a producer, so he said, "Can we come and take pictures in your clinic?" as an excuse just to get in. So that's how it started. And so I was in private practice. And then when the war broke out in 67, the American University invited me to teach there. So I was teaching there for quite a while. I was also helping in the American College for Girls, which is the school I graduated from high school there. They invited me to work there and set up a special department for persons with developmental disabilities, which what we used to call mental retardation. Uh, Families in Egypt were embarrassed that they would have children who have mental retardation, so they used to lock them up in rooms and never show them to anybody. So I started this department, and it went very well, very well. And I used my adaptive behavior scale with the American Association for Mental Deficiency and translated into Arabic and standardized it. So I went to Toronto to present my research. And that is when representatives from the Ontario government and another institution for the developmentally disabled, Dr. McKenzie, who saw me, and he was a wonderful Scottish guy who had been in Egypt during the war. And they said, come and see our facility. Maybe you could be interested to come and help us. So I went. It was beautiful. Picton, Ontario is one of the most beautiful area, which has beautiful beaches. So I went and saw it, and I of course, saw it in the summer, which was, like late summer. It was just gorgeous with sandy white beaches, and I fell in love with it. I said, why not? Being a risk taker, I said, why not? At the time, I had two boys, the only ones I had anyway. One was 7 and the other was 4. So I saw the facility and accepted their offer right away. and went home to Egypt and told my husband, who was eager to go because there were wars all the time between us and the neighboring Israel and so on. So within 15 days, we were back in Canada, me working with this department and introducing the scale all over Ontario. And, of course, I left my private practice and my teaching at the university and consulting to hospitals. And I was very, very active there as a clinical psychologist. But I was looking more at the future of my two boys because they were going to be, going into the army and all that. So that's how I ended up in Canada. And I worked for the Ministry of Community and Social Services and did a lot of programs in the Ottawa up to Renfrew and for developmentally disabled homes. We emptied the Picton institution and we put them in the community. So we did a lot of work, a lot of work.
Wow, I can feel it. I can feel the depth and the weight of the work that you did, and thank you for all that work. I imagine it was not easy. There's
I was driving at the time before I had so many accidents that ended up putting me on a wheelchair. And that was really a very sad story, which I don't mind sharing. In 94, I was working from 74 till 94, actively driving, running from here to the other. You know how I'm energetic. And so I ended up with an accident, a bad accident that broke both hips. So I ended up in hospital for about six months, something like that. And after which, I just found it very difficult to go back to this running around. It was impossible to do it. So I was quite depressed for a whole year. And every day I would be crying and saying, God, how can I serve you? Because everything I did I felt was a service with love to God. And after seeing a psychologist, getting some help, it wasn't really a psychological problem. It was more a spiritual problem of wanting to serve and didn't find the way. So one night, around 2 o'clock at night, I find a big force, like two big arms, hugging me, almost squishing me, and asking me to get up and write. Well, I hated writing before that. I always did things, but I hated, even my psychological reports were a burden. So I got up and I went to the computer and I found my hands writing automatically from 2 o'clock in the morning till about 9 in the morning. And when my husband, who was also a writer, got up and my son, they couldn't believe how much I had written. And I printed up and gave it to them. So I ended up with 3 books within 3 weeks. So I felt that this was a gift from God. He showed me the way you're going to serve me is to serve through writing, to influence people through your writing. So when I put the books, I gave them for free to hospitals, to Cancer Society members. And I had a good friend of mine who called Hiem from Yemen. She took lots of books and gave them to people who needed them. And I felt this was my service. So those 3 or 4 books are on iTunes. And then from then on, I started dedicating my life to writing, and I have now 3 best-selling books, and hopefully a 4th one before I say goodbye. So, and anything I can do to influence and help young women. I find that being around young people is much easier for me. I think people who are my age, I feel they're much too old for me. They look older, they think old, they move older. But so that's the problem.
Yeah, you're making me laugh so early in the morning. I might wake up my children. Oh my goodness. I hope I'll say that about my age mates when they get old. and I feel young like you do, you know.
Yeah,
But
it's
there's
kind
something
of,
so great about you too, Zizi. You always support things that are being done by, you know, young Africans like myself. You know, you've been supporting almost every initiative I've done on Clubhouse, you know, and also off Clubhouse. I've seen you engaging with a lot of the things I've done on even Instagram, and now we are on YouTube. And I've, you know, a signed copy of your book, you know, with me here right now, which I didn't solicit for. You just said you need to have a copy of this book, and today, you know, you're just about to read some excerpts from it for us. Share with us why it's important for you as an elder, you know, an African elder.
a
Why is
young,
it?
please.
Well, you can't run away from this role, you know, because what you're doing, I think, you know that there's value in some of the work I do, but the consistency by which you've been supportive, the way you show up, I know that she has just come to show support, you know. And also the DMs, you know, they are so encouraging, and a lot of the things you say are also why I've managed to get the energy to keep going. But not many elders. Imagine we had 8 Zizis that showed up for some of the things we did, you know. We would be in a better place. Besides you, I also know of Jay. I don't know if you know Jay Naidu. He was the Minister for Communication for Nelson Mandela when Nelson Mandela was the president in South Africa. So, you know, you're the only 2 elders that I know that have frequented things that, you know, we've done online. You know, it's brutal to be to have seen everything you've seen in life, and then to engage the way you have. So I commend you, but I want to learn why. Why?
Well, why is because I had so many people who helped me, Simon. And actually, you will be surprised. You're one of them as well. Like when I see someone like you doing so much, like to me, I see you as a saint. Because when I see how people are all directed by their own self interest, I have never seen yet someone who has done as much as you do for nothing. Not for nothing. I mean, look at what you do for the youth in Africa, sending them a musical interest. And you're teaching them something that empowers the soul, empowers the heart. You're not sending food, you're sending food for their souls. I have so much respect and admiration. I would not come to your room if I didn't feel that. I mean, I tend to be, very straightforward, and I just love how you're doing things, and I wish I could support more. If I had more money, maybe if I win a lottery, I would give you all of it because I feel you are doing such an important role for Africa. And you know who really influenced my thinking was, do you remember, you were too young to know Gamal Abdel Nasser, but you must have heard of him. He was the head of Egypt.
I did.
And
I heard of him. A lot of young people in Kenya are named after him. Actually,
yeah,
yeah.
like he loved Africa and he considered Egypt as African rather than Arab. And that's how I feel about it too, like I don't feel I really belong in the Arab world, though some may not like it. But I feel I'm more of an African person because I live in Africa and I believe in Africa. And I feel it's the richest continent there is, not only for the diamonds and all the stuff, but for its people. They remind me of our people too because they are, no matter what, they're happy. They're not always complaining and nothing is enough for them. You see someone sitting in the street eating maybe a morsel of bread for the whole day, and they are satisfied and happy and thankful. And gratitude is so important. Like, I don't know if you're familiar, but in Arabic, when you ask someone, there is no answer except Alhamdulillah, thank God, thank God.
I
They,
do.
they don't have anything to say. This is the way the language is set up.
Right, right,
Thank God for everything.
right,
Or
right,
inshallah,
right.
willing. Thank God.
Right.
That's it.
Well, I'm holding the Rhapsody of Love in my hands right now, and it's just beautiful. Rhapsody of Love is a spiritual journey from Rumi to oneness with all. 6 strategies by Zeinab el Ghatit. Zainab Zizi is here with us right now, and this book talks about the 6 enabling strategies in Zizi's spiritual journey to oneness with all. What's your favorite strategy of these 6?
My favorite strategy is surrender.
Okay. Would you read
Surrender.
Surrender for us?
Okay. The second is because you are surrendering to God. The beloved, of course, you will have Rumi every time I go anywhere. The beloved is with you in the midst of your seeking. He holds your hand wherever you wander. This is by Rumi. He also said, surrender to grace. The ocean cares for each wave until it reaches the shore. You are given more help than you ever will know. To me, surrendering to oneness, I believe that we're all one, no matter color, religion, looks, whatever. Just like you say in your room. So becoming one with all is a spiritual path we choose to take once we fulfill our basic physiological, safety, and psychological needs. It's very difficult for people to surrender when they're very young because they have so many, essential things. So just to give total surrender, so they feel like they're the feather in the wind or a drop in the ocean or something like total surrender, where you have full trust and no question. Seeking the truth and following a spiritual path, seeking unity and oneness and becoming one with all is the path of the heart. It's not for children. It has nothing to do with rituals and the laws of religion, community, and relationships. Once we mature and we are 40 or over, it gets easier and more possible, as we may have fulfilled many of our worldly aspirations and can find time to pursue the needs of the soul. It's a process of slowly letting go of the need to control and letting go of it. We need to know ourselves and all our vulnerabilities without judgment and reproach. Strategies that helped me on my journey were not easy. They take time, repetition, and practice. We don't remain in a state of total surrender continuously or forever, nor does it happen suddenly. Spiritual freedom and bliss surpass all ephemeral worldly things you desire. I experienced moments of surrender and oneness when I felt inner peace and contentment, regardless of my physical or psychological challenges. Looking at nature, watching a baby, doing community work, with the less fortunate, looking at a painting, and most of all, when we feel broken, the only way out is to turn to our Creator and the oneness of all. It can happen in encounters with those we feel gratitude and love towards due to compassion and acts of loving kindness. A permanent state of surrender and oneness with all is not possible because of the battles with our ego, our mind, our soul, fears, social pressures, and the demands of everyday life. Surrendering is a slow one, step at a time. It continues slowly over the years. It often interrupted when you're young. Experiencing moments of surrender and oneness with all keeps expanding with practice, mindfulness, and perseverance. The more we train and practice, the more moments of surrender and oneness extend to hours, days. So let's be patient with ourselves at our awakening. I found that giving unconditional love for God's creations, plants, animals, and what we perceive as inmate. It's so funny that sometimes people don't think a chair has a soul. Everything has a soul. Everything appreciates being grateful. So, in addition, we need to become selfless, loving, compassionate, patient, humble. Humility is such an important thing. Forgiveness, grateful to ourselves and others. Giving what we love, not what we want to give. See, a lot of people say, oh, I gave this and this and this, but they didn't really give something they love. You have to give what you love, not what you want to get rid of. My journey is not simple. It has its ups and downs. Falling off the wagon happens now and then. Surrendering is not to do nothing and surrender or capitulate. It is to do everything that is good for others. I felt protected no matter what because I know that my Creator resides in our hearts. With love, faith, patience, forgiveness, I can overcome the challenges and the pain and turn them into opportunities for success and empowerment. Maybe that's a little enough.
Yes, for now, but I'm going to read also, an excerpt from the Rhapsody of Love that really moved me, and I want to ask for your thoughts about it. But there's a portion of this book that you had mentioned to me that had something to do with me a few weeks ago, and I'm curious about that part. I've tried to find it, but I can't find it. So you have to help me find that part. But I'm just so excited to be here with you. The part that I have a question with is in regards to souls of light do not die. So that's on page 161. And for those who are on Clubhouse, if you want to get a copy of the Rhapsody of Love, it's on Amazon. I just shared the link in the YouTube chat. We have a few people on YouTube who have joined us over there for this conversation, and I was able to get the link there. But if you want to get the link right now, you can connect with Helen. She's on stage right next to Livia, and she can share with you the link as well, so that you can get a copy of the Rhapsody of Love by Zizi. Zizi, I just want you to share with us one thing about writing. There's always this saying that if you want to hide a secret from an African or a black person, put it in a book, and I feel that what you're doing is also revolutionary. And we have a number of educators in the room, other authors are in the room on Clubhouse, parents are in the room. I just wanted you to share with us why it's important for us to write our stories and document our stories.
Each one of us has a story, and let me tell you, your story is your pain. That is your story, because no one else can say it or describe it or deal with it except you. And no one, absolutely no one, can tell it the best way you can. Actually, I have a room. I used to have a room. I closed it because there wasn't that much interest. And that is to show people that each one has a story and that they can write it. People have a very difficult time opening up, saying the truth, being authentic about their failures and their successes. Like if you look at my book Surrender, it's totally my whole story with its good and bad and what failed and what didn't work and what worked. So I feel that we owe it to the people to write simply, not too long, and in a way that anyone with whatever level of education can read and get something out of it. And not to be too wordy. Like I tried to keep the book not more than 150 pages of the small size, and written in big and simple. Simple like I'm talking, rather than trying to use big words. So it's important. And I have to admit something. I've had a very bad relationship with God, by the way. Like from childhood, I felt he was responsible for my polio, and every time something happens, he doesn't care. But then once I have had this complete encounter, now it's easy for me to communicate with him. I do communicate during my meditations. I ask a question and I get the answer from my own heart where I now believe he resides. So don't be afraid to think that, oh, you don't believe or you hated God. One day when you really get close to him, you will know that he really cares. He's carrying you at the time you think he's not around because he's carrying you.
Thank you, Zizi. So I'll just read Souls of Light. Or do you want to read it actually? And then,
No, that's right.
but I want you to think about why you wrote that, excerpt,
Well,
that portion
it's,
of the book, and then I want to open it up to the room. We have a beautiful community of friends and family and co-creators of this space that are here with us. So we'll open the space for them to just shower you with love and share their comments. That's the interpretation for today's proverb. Anyhow, souls of light do not die. It's the mortal clocks they shade. They just go back to freedom, to another plane, to another dimension we don't understand. But they are all around us. They are here. Why did you, share this piece? It comes right after when it's time for me to go. And in the Daily African Proverbs, in the African Wisdom Club, we really we invoke the spirits of our ancestors a lot. As African people, in almost everything we do, we invoke the spirit of our ancestors a lot. And I feel like our ancestors, especially my mom, I think my mom is the ancestor that I relate to the most. I feel like she's a soul of light, but I've never been able to find something that describes that feeling of having a relationship with someone that you actually interacted with in person, and now transitioning to having a different form of relationship with them, and then understanding that there's a collective of people beyond her that are now in that dimension, and just how to embrace it better. Zizi, are you there? I think Zizi, we might have lost Zizi. She's frozen on the YouTube live stream. But I'm just having a great time, really this morning, and I want to open it up to all of you on stage to just introduce yourself briefly and share with us how you feel, and just any comments to Zizi. Livia, will you tap your mic if you're in the room? I just want to confirm. Okay. Livia, can you hear me? Okay. Helen, can you tap your mic? I just want to make sure. Okay. Samantha, can you tap your mic? Oh, Helen is there. Okay, perfect. And Samantha, okay. The Kikombe, are you there? Just want to check. Perfect. Okay, Helen, I'll pass the mic to you. And for those who are meeting Helen for the first time, Helen actually helps with, reaching out to potential guests for the African Wisdom Club and scheduling it and just helping us make this something that is going to be impactful in the long term. So Helen, go ahead and introduce yourself and just share your comments about this time that we're having with Zizi. Thank you very much. And by the way, for those who are in the room, my brother the Kikombe and I typically goes live on Instagram after the Daily African Proverbs. So today we're also going to just take away, just share with you an highlight of how today's conversation with Zizi was like. So see you over there right after this conversation. Helen, the mic is yours.
Thank you so much, Simon. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Zizi. I hope you're able to hear me. I am excited to hear more about Zizi just because I've just been impressed by her presence. Just watching some of the Instagram messages that she sends, they're very simple and very direct and very evocative. And it was interesting to hear that Helen Keller, that she actually met Helen Keller. She was one of my heroes growing up, just simply because of the name, but also because she really didn't have any obstacles, it seemed, in her life. And that was really instructive. But if Zizi comes back, I just wanted to ask about perspective. That's one thing that I really get from her is that she has a lot of perspective, just on her outlook and life and everything, and just would love to hear about her perspective on COVID, and just the changes that are happening and, how to deal with society. But yeah, it's a wonderful room. Back to you, Simon.
Thank you so much, Helen. This is Simon. Zizi is in the clubhouse room with us, but she's not on the YouTube live stream. So I think she's having a little trouble. So Zizi, could you unmute and just share with me what's going on, or I just want to check in. Okay, I'll pass it.
Yes, I think we lost it on the YouTube. At least I did.
Okay.
But we can continue on that.
Okay.
Do you want me to read about when it's time to go?
Yes. But I want you to also talk about the little piece I was reading right before when it's time to go. I was reading Souls of Light Do Not Die.
Yeah, I was thinking of your mother when I wrote that.
Oh, wow. Tell me a little more about that.
I just felt like sometimes when I'm in that room, I'm a little bit psychic as well. So sometimes when I'm in your room, I feel her presence because you're actually actualizing her dream and continuing the work she did when she was alive. And I wanted to tell you that, but I didn't want to really sound weird because, not too many people believe in spirituality or believe in a feeling presence of dead people or whatever. We in Africa believe that very strongly. So I just wanted to almost give you the. It's funny that you you said I don't see myself anywhere, and then you pick the one thing that I wrote for you. Isn't that synchronicity or serendipity?
It's completely insane. It's completely insane. I don't know what it is, but I was just like, Zizi said something, but let me read what interests me anyway, Anyway, we've been hearing just some comments. We have just 15 more minutes before the end of our conversation, Zizi, and we've had such a rich conversation today. Instead of dissecting the proverbs as we usually do, today we were hosting our wonderful 25-year-old elder, Zizi. I want to pass it to Livia, I think actually Helen had an important question. Helen wanted to know your perspectives on COVID, Zizi. So maybe you speak to that, your perspective on COVID, and then we can, pass the mic to Livia if she's back, or Samantha, the Kikombe, and then Bibi, David, Ambuso, and then our brother Ivna. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I actually have a different perspective from a lot of people. I see that here is God telling people, look at what a little virus, which you can't even see, has done to the whole world. Who is in control? Are you? And then the worst cases were mostly in developed countries rather than like when I was in Egypt. It started there and I was there for 8 months. Absolutely no fear, no threat, nothing. And the cases were very, very limited. I guess the weather and the people, the way they take it, well, it's God's will. If I have to die, I will die, but I'll do my best. after spending the 8 months, I was not able to come back because of they stopped the airplanes and so on and so forth. And then when I came, I just found this total paranoia. Like I went into my condo building, and as soon as I came in, everybody hid inside their doors, and every time they see me, they go out and go back into their apartments as if you have the plague, you know. And so I think it was a lesson to the world, and there are lots of good things that came out of it. It sort of taught us, and most of all for me, it gave me time to be in seclusion with God, in seclusion with me. Like we're so busy, rushing all the time. So it gave those who have a loving heart and want to spend time with their own creator time to go into. I went into seclusion, which would never be possible with phones and electronics and everybody going now, because the lockdown has ceased a bit, although it looks like it might be coming back, at least in Canada. So I found that this was an opportunity to do things. I wrote this book during COVID. I mean, this book was written in 1 month during COVID. And it's mostly, I found that having been on Clubhouse has really opened my mind and my heart, because then I wasn't alone. You see, my husband had passed away a couple of years ago, so it's pretty lonely when you live in an apartment, 3-bedroom, and you're all by yourself except for people who are coming to work for you. So it gave me time to write, it gave me time to reflect and meditate, it gave me time to see what people are like, because I know that my workers, I have 4 of them, they decided not to come because they were afraid that I would be carrying something or other, And only one person called me and she said, I will come and serve you, even if I have to have coronavirus. To me, that was something that doesn't happen, and she happens to be from Haiti. So, you find out the real essence of people is another thing. You really, truly find out who who kept in contact. Like, what if I had had corona? I would have been what? Dead? Nobody would come and give me any treatment. Nobody would stay with me. Like, you realize there's so much racism in how people behave. So I'm very grateful for the virus. It taught people a lesson, and it certainly didn't teach developing countries anything, because they already believe, they already trust, they already have no fear, because they are, when you're trusting a supreme being, no matter what you call it, you have this complete safety from fear. Maybe small fears, but not this constant horror, and you can't go anywhere, you can't talk to anybody, like it's just so I believe personally that with every hardship, within it, not beside it, not after it, inside, like we have a saying that says, وَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. It comes with it. With every hardship comes the release from it. Even when I broke broke my back and ended up not working as a psychologist, but look at the gift I was given to write all these books, and to become a writer and to find a way of serving God without having to do too much effort except write and be at home. So that's how I feel about things. I think being a Sufi, being a spiritual person is so much better than being religious, because I find religion is very divisive. And I see, like Rumi says, I looked for a church, I looked for a mosque, I looked for a synagogue. Then I looked inside and found it all in my heart. So it's your heart that, that's important. I think I talk too much, Simon. Excuse me.
Zizi, talk as much as you want. Just so you know, there's a saying that once a man, twice a child. The only times when nobody can control how much you are going to say is when you are a child, and also when you are an elder. And and a lot of the time it's us who are controlling how much we want to say. And I feel that with the African Wisdom Club, we don't in general ask you to speak for 1 minute, 2 minutes, especially if you're the guest. So today I just want you to talk. Everything you're saying is so valuable and so appreciated. I want to check in with Livia. Livia, are you there? Okay, Samantha, I'll pass you the mic. Introduce yourself and share with us your thoughts.
Thank you so much, Simon. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Wow. Good morning, good afternoon, Elder Zizi. I feel so privileged to be in this room and listening to you. I have I snuck on to YouTube just to see your face, because obviously with Clubhouse we only have our profile pictures, but just to see you talk, and you're such a beautiful, beautiful woman, just inside and out. And it was just such a pleasure just to see you, and your smile, as you spoke and as you reflected on your past experiences. Just seeing your face was priceless. So thank you so much for just making yourself available to all of us today. A couple of things that you said really resonated with me. The one thing that you said that each and every one of us has a story, and our story is so valid. And it's interesting because sometimes we downplay our life stories, our sufferings, our triumphs, and which is not good. It's not good. And it's a reminder, just hearing you say that, let us not downplay our stories. I'm ever so hopeful that you can convert your book and your books to like an audio version, because it would be so great to hear you read your work. It's one thing reading your work, but hearing your work from your voice, the cadence of your voice, the inflections of your voice will just be such a treasure to all of us. So if it's not in the works, or if it hasn't been done, I do hope that you would consider converting your work to an audio version. The question I did have for you was, what do you think is the role of suffering in coming to a place of love with self and love with others? If you can answer that question for me, I would be much appreciated. Thank you.
Oh, my beloved Samantha, I love you so much. Thank you so much for all the beautiful things you loaded on me. I don't know if I can deserve all this. I'll tell you something. Without pain, without suffering, there's no story. There's no life. There's nothing. And I like to use Rumi, he said, the pain, God is in the pain, in the wound. You see God in the wound, which is true. Like when you're suffering, you see God, you feel Him, because that's where He goes. He says, I go to the wounded, the poor, the inflicted. He doesn't go to a party. He goes to the people who need Him the most. So, my love, if I hadn't suffered so much in my life, I wouldn't be free now. And that's why this book is from an 85-year but 25 young perspective. I'm looking at things differently. I know one day came back from school around 7 or 11, something like that. And I found my father waiting with a maid downstairs. And we used to, at that time, live in a 5-story apartment. And he said, it's too bad the elevator is not working, but I know you're going to be able to climb those 5 stairs, 5 flights of stairs. It's a big apartment building. I started crying and protesting that, don't you see my heavy braces? How can I carry myself and the braces? And I said, well, I have a chair. You can rest wherever you want. But I know you can do it. I hated him so much, Samantha. I hated him so much for doing that, and I kept crying. And my mother was crying up there on the fifth floor. And I hated him for so much time. And then, guess what? Whenever I'm faced with a problem, the metaphor of climbing those stories, regardless of the crying and all that, became the metaphor of success and struggling and getting to where you want. So parents do their best and they have something in mind which we can't understand. But then when it happens, they have accomplished the goal. Like he wanted me to know I can do it regardless of my handicap. Would you believe they never talked to me as if I had a handicap? We never discussed it. We never talked about it. And I was totally treated as a completely normal person. And that really helped me not develop a victim mentality, you know? He would say, do this and this and that. And I look at them, I said, can't he see that I can't do that? They said, no, I don't see it. We used to live across the street from where I worked, the Ministry of Community and Social, we all the home there. And every day he has a car, he would get into his car, go to work, and leave me standing there. And I says, here is some money, go, take a taxi and cross the street. Of course, he knew the taxi would be so rude if I told him cross the street and take me to the ministry. But I learned. And then my cousin used to come and pick me up. My friends used to come and pick me up. But he taught me a lesson that, I'm not going to be your babysitter. You have to live life on your own. That's it. And that's why I was the only one who was able to go to the States at the age of 17 or 18 to study all by myself. I mean, I'm sure all of you saw New York. Can you imagine landing in New York from Africa and seeing all these tall buildings and all the people around? And you say, oh my God, where am I? So trust your parents. They know what they know and they're doing their best. No one hates his children. We are only sort of put that blanket on them. And you know what? I think I learned the best lessons from my enemies or so-called enemies because my friends were nice. But when people are not nice to you, that's when you learn. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Zizi. Thank you so much. I'll let the next person ask a question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samantha. This is Simon speaking on Clubhouse. I'm also on YouTube. And Zizi, there's a comment that was made here that I just wanted to read back to you that was made by Joanne. Joanne is also in the room, in the audience. Just so you know, if you're here on Clubhouse with us, we turned off hand raising at 6:30 a.m. And now we're just focusing on listening in to everyone who is already on stage. But you can still engage with this conversation. You can comment on the post about this conversation on my Instagram. You can join us on YouTube. We are live streaming at the moment. And also, you can join us on Instagram right after this room for the recap of this conversation with the Kikombe, my brother the Kikombe, who is joining us from Thailand. Joan Onyango Obunga says, God is in the wound. This is so true. Without pain, there is no story. And then she also says, thank you so much, Zizi. You have touched me deeply. I am buying your book. I love reading. Now, if you want to get a copy of Zizi's book, please let Helen know. Helen is right below me if you go by PTR order here on Clubhouse. On YouTube, I've also shared the link in the chat. You can grab a copy of our wonderful Zizi's book, The Rhapsody of Love. Now I want to pass the mic to the Kikombe, but Livia, just one more time. Are you there? Tap your mic if you're there. If you're not, I'll go to the Kikombe. The Kikombe, the mic is yours.
Brother Simon, Mama Zizi, thank you very much for the opportunity. I feel very privileged to be in the presence of such living pot of gold. I appreciate you sharing, Mama Zizi. I apologize for being slightly late today. I was trying to put out a little bit of a fire with the little ones that wanted more attention before they went to sleep. It's nearly 9 p.m. here. And I remember I came in when you and Simon were reading a few excerpts, but then from your book, and I think one of the biggest takeaway and one of the things that hit me straight away was when you were mentioning that you wrote that bit about Simon's mom. When you wrote that bit that you were talking about, you were thinking about Simon and his mom. And I love that you say that. I love the lessons that you give us for the same ideology about COVID, exposing us and telling us that this is a small virus, but look at how much it can do. And this is probably one of the best time, or not one of the best, but this is an opportunity for us to perhaps be in seclusion with our creators or our higher beings. Sorry, apologize. They say that a village without an elder, they say that, yeah, a village without an elder is like a well without water, and clubhouse is a village. And many rooms you go into clubhouse operate like, say, the African Wisdom Club. They operate with like a village. And to me, you are our well. You are our kind of our well of wisdom, and you're giving us so much gold and treasure. I think it's the Chinese that said that an elderly person at home is like a living golden treasure. So, Mama Zizi, mine is not, I don't have questions to ask, but I just want to pass my gratitude. I appreciate you being here, 85-year-olds young, and thank you for sharing with us. Big love.
Can I share something, Simon?
Yes, of course. Carry on, please.
Becky Combe, let me admit another thing. Since I sat on that wheelchair, do you know how difficult it is to get a hug on a wheelchair? Almost impossible, because the hardware gets in the way. Do you know how many people can tell you I love you when you're all alone? Not many can pick up the phone and say, we think of you, we love you, we know you're by yourself. So when I come to this room, I get my cup replenished. I feel your love, I feel your appreciation, and I love you. And I wish I could hug you all and tell you how much I love each one of you. You are my tribe and my family. Thank you.
Zizi, yeah, we love you too, and I'm also sending you big hugs, and you did this about 3 days ago, and the Kikombe kept telling everybody after that, I love you. We went on the Instagram recap for the Daily African Proverbs, and everybody was being loved over there. So the way that you share how much you love people and how much it's actually hard to get a hug on a wheelchair inspires us to hug each other even tightly whenever we can, especially in this time when you can primarily hug people from within your household. It's also like the coronavirus is another form of wheelchair for everybody. You can't just hug anyone. There are invisible structures that are obstructing you from hugging people the way that we used to do it so freely. Now we want to hear from Bibi. Bibi, please introduce yourself briefly and share with us any comments and thoughts about today's session with Zizi. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Simon. And thank you, Zizi. And Zizi, from now on, instead of Habuba, I'll start calling you Umi, if that's okay with you. And Umi is a loving way of calling mom in Arabic. So I'll be
You
coming in.
are, yes, I am. Everybody's Ummi here. I love you all. And Bibi, I just have a special place in my heart for you. Thank you so much, Bibi. I love you. And I have to
And
tell you, I have about another 10 young ladies who have adopted me as their mother, although really I am probably more than a grandmother to you. You're so young and youthful and lovely to see. Thank you, Bibi. I love you.
thank you, Umi. I love you too. And I just love your story, and I love your resilience. To me, that's what really stood out. Your resilience, perseverance, and your strength. It's so beautiful, and you have inspired me even further than before. You've always been an inspiration for me since I've heard your story about how you're wheelchair inbound right now. But it's just loving hearing you speak more about it in full depth today. So I'm just here just to give my gratitude to you and Simon in this amazing room, and just let you know how much I appreciate you and I love you, and continue shining, and we'll continue to learn more from you. And with that, I am complete. Thank you so much.
Shukran, Binti Habibti. That's in Arabic. Thank you, my beautiful daughter, my beloved daughter. Thank you. Oh, I get so much love here. I don't want to leave this room. Thank you.
Zizi, we are around the village fire with you, and if we are in Africa, the skies are wide open, it's beautiful, and you can smell the fire, the scent from the wood burning, and it's just
Yes.
beautiful. And that's the experience we want to bring here. The darkness in Africa, it gets so dark, but when you look up, you see the stars, and it starts brightening up the space where you
And,
are. And
and the crackling of the woods. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're joining us here in the African Wisdom Club, this is a room. This African Wisdom Club sessions happens typically on Fridays at 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But today, instead of doing the daily African proverbs, we brought this session that was supposed to happen last Friday to this morning, because we wanted to do it at a time where we don't have to keep Ziggy awake so late in the night, because the African Wisdom Club is literally a late night show where we literally sit around the village fire, and we've invited and had guests, for example, the director of the 600 film about the 600 Rwandan soldiers that, were so impactful during the genocide in Rwanda. We've interviewed Naomi Achu, who is an award-winning artist from Cameroon. We've interviewed Jane Naidu. It's just been an amazing space over the last, I would say, 6 months since we started hosting rooms there. But Helen, I want you to just speak to some of the upcoming conversations that everyone should look forward to before I pass it to David to share with us his comments. Helen, please. This is Simon speaking. Helen, are you by your mic? If you're not, I'll pass the microphone to David so that David can share with us his comments about today's session with Zizi. David, go ahead. We'll come back to Helen in a moment.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, all the mods. Yeah, it's really great every time I am in this room. I feel so blessed. I feel, always learning, and I'm just happy to be here. So, Mama Zizi, let me introduce myself. My name is David Otieno. I'm also from East Africa. I was born in Kenya around Lake Victoria. And right now I am actually based in New York. I live in New Jersey. I'm really honored to be on stage with you, Mama Zizi, and just to listen to to your story and your wisdom. I do feel the kindness, which I always think is the strength that we people need. And I do feel, you know, that this story is a story of encouragement. It's a story that, every young man should actually um, read and listen to. So I'm so grateful to be here. Listening to you, I just feel already inspired and feel encouraged to face some of the challenges. I do know that usually as a young man or even our children, when they are faced with challenges, most of the time they want to give up. But just listening to your story, it's so much of an encouragement story, and I'm just happy to, you know, uh, to feel so blessed with your words. So generally, I'm just here really to, show love to you, to pass my gratitude, pass my appreciation, and or wish you really good health as usual. And these rooms have been extremely helpful, and I just want to, in any way, feel part of the room and just to um, support in any way I can. So I really thank you for being here today and sharing your story and your book. The question I had, if you have time, was about forgiveness. Forgiveness, sorry. I just wanted to understand what is your kind of interpretation when it comes to forgiveness, especially when sometimes you feel you should not forgive. And how does this really affect us in terms of always trying to regain our self-worth? Um, so this is what I have today. Thank you again, Mama Zizi. This is David, and I'm done speaking.
Well, David, the first thing in anything you do is forgiveness. Not only to forgive others, but first to forgive yourself. I had to forgive myself because I mistreated God. I mistreated my body so, and I considered my body was my enemy because I felt, well, if I didn't have polio, if I wasn't paralyzed, if I was able to walk properly without a limb, then it would be different for me. So I had to begin by saying, I forgive myself. And I actually wrote something to my body about that. I asked for forgiveness and talked to my body about it. I don't know if I can find the page right now, but essentially, it's just saying that I'm feeling bad. So let me read to you something about forgiveness. 35 years ago, my son and I, when he was strumming on his guitar, I sort of almost went into a trance on my lazy boy. And then what I saw, I was like observing myself as a mother, observing little Zizi paralyzed on the bed at 1 year old. And then I saw my parents come into the room full of anguish and crying and screaming. Up to this point, I consider myself like I consider my parents like liable for what happened to me, and I didn't think they cared at all. And I never discussed it with them, never. So I had to wait until I was married and have a son who plays the guitar to get into the state and see them suffering. So I was a participant observer. And as I watched my parents, it was a moment like no other. A flood of compassion, love, and forgiveness drowned me. When I saw the pain and anguish my parents exhibited, and probably continue to feel that way from the moment of their last breath. As their child, I felt guilty for hating and blaming them. When I looked at myself as a parent, I felt heartbroken for that beautiful child laying helpless in her bed. For all she had done, nothing. And now I neglected to love, acknowledge, and thank my beautiful inner child, who sometimes screamed for my attention. She was always there for me throughout this tortuous journey of treatments, trials, and tribulations. I couldn't take her in my arms and hug her, but I whispered into her heart how much I love her. I acknowledge her hero's journey and thank her for the unlimited support. She seemed happy and content. I also promised that I would continue to love her and support her throughout my life, a promise I intend to keep. A state of total reconciliation, unconditional love and gratitude gushed turbulently from my soul to all, forever overflowing. As you live deeper in the heart, the mirror gets clearer and clearer, as Rumi said. So I know what it is to need to forgive, but I found that the beginning of forgiveness is to forgive yourself for all the mind reading assumptions you assumed about other people when they probably didn't mean that. So you begin by forgiving yourself for all that. Then you will find it easier to forgive others. But before you forgive yourself, you can't forgive others.
Thank you so much, Mama Zizi.
Thank you very much for that question, David, and thank you for the wonderful response, Zizi. We want to pass it. I want to pass the microphone now to. I see that Dark Harley Quinn is back in the room, so I'll pass you the mic so that you can share your comments real quick. Then we'll go to Vicky Ambuso, and then Ivna will close us out. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Doc. Feel free, introduce yourself briefly and share with Zizi any comments. I would love just comments or appreciation, no question for the rest of the conversation so that we can go and do the recap, because we are a little, we are 20 minutes past the time that I was hoping that we would wrap up the conversation today. So I would just encourage, just some words of encouragement for Zizi, and if possible, maybe DM her with the question or bring the question to the recap session on Instagram. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone. I'm sorry, I'm in a noisy place. I can't talk right now.
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to join us for today's conversation. Hey, Vicky, share with us your thoughts and comments for Zizi.
Thank you so much, Simon, and thank you, Mama Zizi, for just sharing your life with us today. I'm just so appreciative that I get to listen and learn from an elder this evening. I'm Vicky. I'm from Kenya. Yes, and it is so important for us to hear the stories of our people around the continent, and especially of those who've gone before us. So thank you so much. I think my takeaway for today is that I must learn to dance to the beat of my own drum. That's my takeaway today from as I listened to Mama Zizi. Whatever life has thrown at her, she's taken it and she's learned to dance with it. She's learned that this is the music that she has, and she's listened to the beat and she's hearkened to the call, and she is dancing her way through life. And just when I hear her talking about, she's 85 but she feels 25, it's because she's just decided that she's going to keep on dancing. And I think that's my greatest takeaway from this conversation today. So thank you so much for just allowing us to to see that it doesn't matter what age you are, you can always do something new, and you can always reinvent yourself regardless of the circumstances that life has thrown at you. So thank you so much. I'm Vicky and I am complete.
Yeah, thank you, Vicky. Thank you so much. Ivna, I hope you're doing well, my brother. You are going to be one of our guests in the African Wisdom Club. And I don't know if Helen is here, but I would love for Helen to actually come after Ivna to share with us some of the upcoming guests that will be hosting here in the African Wisdom Club. So Ivna, please share with us your comments to the amazing Zizi.
Thank you so much, Brother Simon, and thank you so much, Ms. Zizi. I am honored to be here. I am Ivnea Dorso. I was born in Haiti. I am currently in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I am an author, motivational speaker on diversity and inclusion. I must say, Ms. Zizi, frankly, I can find words. I'm honored to share this space with you this morning. And I didn't have a chance to order the book, but I was able to get the Kindle version this morning. And I love how you put into words about forgiveness, which is something that many times people say, oh, I forgive you, but really they don't look at the deep sense of forgiveness and how important it is to love and how important it is to live. And you said something that is very, very important. You said, forgiving myself and others allow love to overflow in my life. Allow love to overflow in my life. To err is human. To forgive is divine. This is so powerful and so inspirational. And how you allow your readers to understand that in order to really begin loving yourself, first of all, and others, forgiveness is the number one step. So thank you so much for this book. And I can tell you this, you are really contributing to making this world a better place. Because the world cannot be a better place without love. And we cannot love without forgiveness. As you said, forgiveness is divine. Thank you so very much for allowing me to be in the space with you this morning. My name is Ivnea, and I have spoken.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, powerful, Ivnea. You know, I can't say much about your comments, but, you know, it's been amazing hearing you share, not just today, but since we connected, and I truly appreciate your support. Ivnea, Helen, share with us what's coming up for the African Wisdom Club, and for those who have not followed the club, please do. And Helen, the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Simon. So we have several great guests coming up from different parts of the diaspora, including some brilliant writers, one you just heard from Haiti, and also another from the DRC. We'll also be spotlighting change makers doing great work in the world, working with children, as well as some world-class musicians, TEDx speakers, and just to make a note, we're going to vary the time a little bit to accommodate the speakers. So it'll mainly be Friday evening, but you also might meet some people early in the morning. So please stay tuned. Thank you, Simon.
Well,
Can I say, Simon?
Of course. I wanted to bring the mic to you so that you can actually give us the closing remarks for today's conversation. So share what you had in mind, and also share with us, you know, how you feel right now in closing as we end our conversation.
I feel I'm grateful, first of all, to Helen for all the work she's put in, her beautiful posters, and what she has done. And I feel so grateful to you, Simon, for elevating me to a position That doesn't even, I don't think I deserve that much. And I'm so honored that you have all these positive things about me. I feel very, very happy today. I think I have enough love to last me for a year now in this group, but I will keep coming for more love and more sharing. Thank you.
Oh, you're most welcome. And if you are in the room, please join us. My brother, the Kikombe, and I are going to do the recap in about 2 minutes. We'll be live on Instagram and we'll be there for only 10 to 15 minutes. We will be talking about what stood out in today's session with the amazing Zizi. We will be talking about what was surprising and also the biggest lesson that we learned today. So thank you again for being here with us. It meant...
African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in